Workplace safety doesn't happen by accident. Your employer is responsible for creating a hazard-free workplace so you don't get hurt while on the job. But keep in mind, your personal safety starts with you. You need to be aware of the potential hazards in your workplace. You need to take action to avoid or eliminate them, and you need to report any hazards or unsafe conditions. Depending on the type of work you do, your body may be subject to repetitive twisting, forceful or flexing motions which can damage your muscles, tendons, ligaments, and nerves, especially in your back. And over time, this stress in your body can result in painful musculoskeletal disorders, which may require treatment, therapy, or worse, surgery. Most companies use forklifts, hoists, and other equipment to lift and move heavy objects. However, sometimes it's still necessary to move an object by hand. In these situations, knowing the proper way to lift can help you prevent back injuries. Always make a plan before lifting. First, ensure your path is clear, meaning there are no hazards present, like uneven flooring, debris, or spilled liquids. Then, test the object's weight by lifting one of the corners. If the load is too heavy or if the object is oddly shaped, use a mechanical lifting device or ask for help. When you're ready to move the object, place your feet as close to it as you can. Position your body so you're centered over the load. Then, get low by bending at your knees. Be sure to get a good grip on the object and then lift straight up with your legs in a smooth motion. Don't twist or turn your body as you walk, and keep the load steady and close to your body. Any sudden twisting or turning can result in a back injury. Once you reach your destination, lower the load slowly by bending your knees and letting your legs do most of the work. Don't let go of the object until it is securely in place. While poor lifting technique is a leading cause of back pain, there are other contributing factors. Sitting or standing with poor posture, especially for long periods of time, strains your back muscles and can lead to back pain and injuries. And it's worth noting that many back injuries don't develop from a single lift, but from relatively minor strains over time. So take your time and do every lift right. Slips and trips. We've all been there. Usually, they're the result of moving too fast or not paying attention. And you know how much it can hurt when they end in a fall. Slip, trip, and fall hazards can exist anywhere in the workplace, but most of these hazards can be prevented through some personal best practices and a little good housekeeping. As you move about the workplace, you can avoid slips, trips, and falls by keeping a clear line of sight. Make sure you can see where you're going and never carry a load you can't see over or around. Taking your time. Even when you're in a hurry, always walk at a reasonable pace and be aware of your surroundings. Keeping at least one hand free when possible, so you can use handrails on stairs and ramps. And wearing low-heeled shoes that are clean and dry. Having shoes with non-skid soles is especially important if your work area has wet or greasy floors. Good housekeeping is more than just cleaning. For example, a cord in an aisle is a tripping hazard, and water and slush tracked in near a doorway can cause someone to slip and fall. Housekeeping is not a one-time exercise, but rather an ongoing effort. Do your part by removing or reporting any slip, trip, or fall hazards you encounter in your workplace. It's likely you'll need to wear some type of personal protective equipment or PPE as part of your job. You can think of PPE as being a shield between you and any possible hazards you might encounter. There are many forms of PPE designed to protect different parts of your body from various hazards. Let's start at the top. If you work where objects may fall from above or hit you on the side of the head, you may be required to wear a hard hat. There are different types and classes of hard hats, and each one is designed to protect you against specific hazards. For example, a Class G hard hat provides general protection, while a Class E hard hat offers protection against high voltage shocks and burns. It's important you wear the proper hard hat for your work environment and the hazards you might face. Aside from the hard outer shell, the suspension system inside the hard hat leaves some space between the shell and your head. This helps absorb the impact so you don't feel the full force when something hits your head. Adjust the suspension system to get a snug fit. You all know the uncomfortable feeling of getting something in your eye. Eye and face protection prevents injuries from chips, sparks or other flying particles, splashes, and harmful light radiation. Common types of eye and face PPE include safety glasses and goggles, face shields, and welding goggles and helmets. Regular prescription glasses don't offer adequate protection. If you wear them, you'll need to also wear safety glasses or goggles over them. And remember, if you need to wear a face shield, you must wear safety glasses or goggles too. If you work around loud equipment or machinery, you may become so used to the noise that you don't even notice it after a while. Exposure to excessive noise can cause gradual hearing loss. As the damage builds over time, you'll eventually be able to notice this permanent loss to your hearing. If your workplace is noisy, wear hearing protection such as earplugs, earmuffs, or canal caps to prevent hearing loss. Also, get your hearing tested at least once a year to make sure your hearing protection is effectively doing its job. Inhalation is the quickest and most direct route for airborne contaminants to enter your body. So it's important to protect yourself by using appropriate respiratory protection. Different respirators are designed to protect against different inhalation hazards. When worn properly, they keep dusts, vapors, fumes, and mist from entering your lungs. Respiratory protection is also required to supply clean breathing air when oxygen levels are too low. If you wear a respirator for work, you'll need to pass a medical evaluation beforehand. And if the respirator you use has a tight-fitting facepiece, you'll need to go through a routine fit test every year. If your job involves potential hazards to your hands and arms, you need to protect them too. Gloves are the most common type of PPE and can protect against cuts, burns, abrasions, and electric shock. Gloves come in a variety of styles and fabrics designed for specific situations. For instance, leather gloves are good for handling rough objects, while rubber gloves protect your hands from chemical burns. Other forms of hand and arm protection include hand pads, finger cots, and sleeves. Arm coverings or elbow-length gloves can also be used when your arms need to be protected too. If you are at risk of foot injuries from falling or rolling objects, or from crushing or penetrating materials, you must wear protective footwear. This includes steel-toed boots or shoes. You'll want to wear the right type of safety shoe or boot for the hazards present. In some situations, you may need to add guards to cover the tops of your feet, or insert metal insoles to protect from puncture hazards. Electrical hazard safety shoes are necessary if you're at risk for shock or electrocution. If there is any risk of injury to your entire body that your employer can't eliminate, you'll need to wear full body protection. Examples of body protection include coveralls, vests, jackets, aprons, lab coats, surgical gowns, chemical-resistant bodysuits, and fire-resistant or FR clothing. When working at heights, personal fall arrest systems, positioning systems, and travel restraint systems keep you from falling or safely stop you if you do fall. A personal fall protection system is required when you work 4 feet or more above a lower level and there's no guardrail system or safety net in place. A personal fall arrest system includes a body harness, a lanyard or other connector, and an anchorage point. Regardless of the type of PPE you use, get in the habit of routinely inspecting it and always follow the manufacturer's suggested maintenance and replacement schedules. Never use any damaged PPE. Turn it into your supervisor for replacement or repair. Keep your PPE clean and store it properly after each use. Be sure to protect it from contamination, damage, dampness, and direct sunlight. By keeping it safe, it'll do a better job of keeping you safe. OSHA's Hazard Communication Standard, often referred to as HAZCOM, requires your employer to inform you of the chemicals you may be exposed to, the hazards associated with each of them, and how to protect yourself from their potential dangers. As part of the HAZCOM standard, your employer must create a list of all hazardous chemicals in the workplace. Ensure there's an easily accessible safety data sheet, or SDS, for each chemical. Ensure each chemical container is properly labeled. Train workers on chemical hazards and how to use safety data sheets and labels. And develop a written HAZCOM program that explains how the HAZCOM requirements are met. While your employer has a lot of responsibility when it comes to the HAZCOM standard, it's important you do your part to stay safe too. For example, remove all jewelry when you work with chemicals to avoid chemical burns. Wear any required eye and face protection, chemical-resistant gloves, aprons, or other clothing, and safety boots. And make sure you know where the nearest eye wash station or emergency shower is located. Refrain from eating, drinking, or smoking near any hazardous chemicals. Keep all chemical containers closed when not in use to prevent the accidental spill or release of harmful vapors. Dispose of waste chemicals as directed by your employer. Never mix chemical waste unless you know it's safe to do so. When you finish handling a chemical, wash your hands thoroughly and make sure your PPE is clean and properly stored. And be sure to know how your employer wants you to respond to any chemical spills or leaks. Powered industrial trucks, or more commonly known as forklifts, motorized pallet jacks, and order pickers, are powered mechanical devices used to raise, lower, or move materials from one location to another. There are different classes and types of powered industrial trucks. Each kind presents different hazards depending on where and how they're being used. This is why OSHA requires you to have proper training and an evaluation for each specific type of powered industrial truck you use. Never operate a powered industrial truck unless you've been trained and are authorized to do so. Even if you're not the operator, there are some precautions you should take while working near powered industrial trucks. Approach intersections cautiously. Listen for horns and always be aware of your surroundings. Attempt to establish eye contact with the operator whenever you approach a powered industrial truck. Never approach a loaded powered industrial truck head-on. Never position yourself between a powered industrial truck and a fixed object like a wall or a rack. Never walk under raised forks. Never ride on one unless it is designed to carry passengers. And never ride on the forks. If you see something that looks unsafe, let the operator or your supervisor know about it right away. Workers performing service or maintenance on machinery and equipment may be exposed to injuries from the release of hazardous energy. OSHA's lockout-tagout standard covers the requirements to prevent injury and death from the energization, startup, or release of hazardous energy during maintenance. When it comes to your company's lockout-tagout program, you can be classified as one of three types of employees. An authorized employee is the individual responsible for initiating the lockout or tagout process and the one who physically applies the lock or tag and performs the necessary maintenance. Examples of authorized employees include mechanics and maintenance technicians who do the hands-on work of repairing machinery. An affected employee is the one who normally operates the machine that's being serviced or who works in an area where lockout-tagout is performed. In other words, the lockout-tagout process is affecting that person's regular workflow. Affected employees may not help an authorized employee and are not allowed to service or adjust the machines they operate. And an other employee is a person who may have access to a production area and see equipment that's locked or tagged out, but usually works away from the machine operation. If you are not designated as an authorized employee, you must understand and recognize your company's lockout-tagout procedures and never attempt to restart equipment that has been locked or tagged out. Only operate equipment after the authorized employee notifies you that they have completed the work and have removed the lock or tag. As you can see, the concept of workplace safety is very complex. This is why both you and your employer must work together to ensure everyone's safety in the workplace. By being aware of the potential hazards, taking action to avoid or eliminate them, and reporting hazards and unsafe conditions that may arise, you're doing your part to keep you and your coworkers safe each and every day.